We all know we have yet to fully explore our oceans because, let's face it, Dewey reminds us this almost every single video he gets the chance to. But here on Earth, whether it be in the ocean, deep in the ice, or deep in the jungle, there are still mysterious forms of life that are quite uncommon and scary upon first glance. But luckily for you, you all get to see them here first. Hey Bumblebees, Dewey Stewart back with another wild and shocking video today. Today we are venturing underwater, inside the ice, and inside the deepest jungles to count down the top 10 mysterious life forms you might see for the first time in your life. Unless, of course, you have already ventured around the world and have gotten to see these amazing things before I have, then I'm extremely jealous and kinda hurt. But if you haven't, then great. Here we go. Starting us off at our number 10 spot, we have deep ice organisms. Okay, so maybe you won't see these guys because you're going to need to travel deep in the ice, but maybe you will. I don't know. Anyway, what lies deep beneath all of the polar ice is still much of a mystery to scientists and researchers. However, just in March of this past year, researchers went on an expedition in Antarctica and found some deep ice organisms 900 meters below the Filchner-Ronne ice shelf. This is absolutely wild because this is apparently one of the most inhospitable environments here on Earth. Now, the researchers from Imperial College London and the University of Lyon found several mysterious organisms attached to a large boulder on the sea floor. This boulder and mysterious organisms live in pitch black darkness in waters that are always at -2 degrees Celsius. Trying to decipher how life could erupt out of such an inhospitable environment could bring many answers to how life evolved, not just here on Earth, but deep in the ice of other planets as well. And that could lead scientists and researchers toward the answer of the origins of life, period. How crazy is that? You know, because these organisms have probably been evolving for millions of years here, so it's pretty freaking cool if you ask me. Coming in at our number 9 spot, we have the saber-toothed deer. If you have ever seen a deer, then you know that these creatures are some of the most gentle, beautiful, and elegant creatures here on Earth. Well, you know, most of them. Over in Asia, 7 different kinds of saber-toothed deer can be found. They are basically just deer with massive fangs coming out of their mouth. But are they as ferocious as they look? No, their real name is actually musk deer. They get that name because of a gland that is located near the hindquarters of the male deer. These sacs secrete an extremely pungent odor that all of the females just can't get enough of. Then they will flaunt their teeth to possible female partners, as well as use them for intimidation tactics towards other males, to say, "Back off, she's with me." Unfortunately, just like the female deer, poachers are also extremely fond of their scent. Their musk has been used as a popular aphrodisiac as well as an effective medicinal ingredient over the years. Conservationist Stuart Chapman says it's one of the most valuable products in the natural kingdom and can be worth 3 times its weight in gold. Sadly, due to the poaching, these deer are also now endangered. But on a happier note, Santa, I think you could use a couple of these bad boys in your crew for security, you know, for all those public events that you do, and you know, that way you could fend off all those non-believers like Stephen Mercado. Santa and I are coming for you, Mikado. Just you wait. Coming in at number 8, we have the blue glaucus. If you want to see quite possibly the most alien yet most beautiful creatures to ever have existed here on Earth, then listen up. The blue glaucus is a tiny species of sea slug that can be found in the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans. It is also known as the blue dragon, sea swallow, or blue angel. Now, this beautiful underwater creature incorporates toxic chemicals or stinging cells from its prey into its own skin, which gives this slug a defense mechanism from most of its predators. Because what they'll do is they'll just hold onto the stinging cells and then deliver a much more potent sting from its original prey to its new predator. Oh, and just for good measure, they will lay their eggs on their prey's carcasses because they're just that cool and tough. Pretty freaking cool. Now, their usual size is around 3 centimeters or 1 to 2 inches, so make sure you bring an underwater magnifying glass to see this guy. They can also swallow a bunch of air to inflate their stomachs and float to the surface. They have also been known to swim in groups which are called blue fleets. So while you don't want to get stung by one of these tiny creatures, man oh man do they ever look cool and are quite the feisty little buggers. Or should I say, sluggers. Sure, we'll go with that. Coming in at number 7, we have the peacock spider. Okay, so I recently just watched the behind the scenes of the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, aka the best one by the way, and I found out that the red and blue spider they used in the film was actually wearing makeup. It made me very sad, but what they should have done is used a peacock spider because look at these colors. I know it's not red and blue, but come on, these things look radioactive and could probably give you some pretty awesome Spider-Man powers, don't you think? Anyway, it's probably because these beautifully colored spiders who dance when they mate actually have such tiny jaws that even when they bite you, they couldn't actually puncture human skin, so that's why they didn't use it in Spider-Man. I guess that makes sense. Which is good, because they do carry just a little bit of venom. These spiders hail from down under in Australia, and there are 86 known species in total. Joseph Schubert, who is a spider enthusiast and Museums Victoria researcher, is the one who discovered the spiders, and at one point feared them. But after much more research and watching many mating dances by the arachnids, he now loves them. It's such a nice looking species. The pattern reminds me of Starry Night by Van Gogh, says Schubert. Well, after making a giant peacock spider mascot suit, I think it's safe to say he definitely does love these guys. And if you don't know, one of the other jobs I frequently do is a mascot. So I think this would be the best suit I would ever get to try on, period, if I ever got the chance. Schubert, if you're watching, hit me up. Coming in at our number 6 spot, we have horror frogs. How many of you watching once enjoyed catching frogs? I know I loved it when I was little, and now I just love finding them and getting as close as I can to these tiny little amphibians, or even the giant ones. They're always fun to find too. However, here is one frog that might not be as cute and appealing as the ones that we all know and love. This not that tiny, hairy, and kind of gross looking frog not only doesn't have the usual green coloring that most frogs have, but it also has a tiny retractable claws coming out of its paws, or whatever you want to call them, almost like cat claws. And do you know how they do it? They purposefully break their own bones to give them these tiny little ferocious claws. Now, Harvard scientists believe it to be some type of defense mechanism. These frogs can grow up to 11 centimeters long and also produce hair-like strands of skin and arteries on their backs when they breed. Doesn't look that appealing to me, but hey, I'm no female single ready to mingle frog, so what do I know? It is believed that these tiny hairs also allow them to take in more oxygen through their skin while they take care of their blood. So there you go, a frog straight out of a horror movie. Coming in at our halfway point at number 5, we have sea sapphires. These tiny shrimp-like animals might just be one of the coolest looking organisms on the freaking planet. Why? Because they literally look like tiny swimming sapphires in the ocean. They are often fairly tiny, only measuring up to a few millimeters long, so you'll have to use your eagle eyes to go see these things. But what also makes these sapphires wickedly cool is that different species shine in different colors and hues. Every color from a bright gold to a bright blue. They are usually found in waters near Africa, but also have been seen in the waters near Rhode Island and California, funny enough. But where do these small creatures get their shine? Well, first off, it's mostly males who show off their brilliant shine, but there are actually small microscopic layers of crystal plates inside their cells. Now, not much else is known about these creatures, but many reports of these creatures swimming in packs have often made the water glimmer and shine at the surface, with many people out on the sea marveling at this beautiful sight, and I desperately want to see this now. See y'all over in Cali and Rhode Island, but sorry Africa, you still have way too many scary animals and bugs for me, so I can't do it. Coming in at number 4, we have the blobfish. Have you ever wanted to see quite possibly the world's ugliest animal? If your answer is yes, then here you go. Look at this thing. This fish is called the blobfish, or also known as fathead. Am I being a little harsh? Maybe, but even the Smithsonian Magazine considers it to be the ugliest animal in the world. But let's go easy on it for a second, okay? Just let's get through the list. The blobfish is pretty impressive as it lives at depths of 4,000 feet and more, where the pressure is 120 times stronger than it is here on the surface. So it can take some pretty big pressure. But blobfish are only really gross out of water. Underwater, they just look like strange fish. Most fish have a swim bladder or a sac of air inside its body to stay buoyant. So when these are brought out of the water and onto the surface, these sacs swell up, causing their innards to be pushed out of their mouth, and they also die, so don't do it. So we only really think that these fish are ugly once they are out of the water, so let's maybe just go a bit easier on this one, and no one looks good dead, and let's just keep them in the water. How about that? Starting us off in our top 3, at number 3, we have the vampire squid. That's right, we all know the giant squid by now, and it's kind of lost its appeal. I mean, a giant squid, that's nothing new. Boring. Well, how about a vampire squid? Okay, just kidding. But funny enough, this sea-dwelling creature is actually not classified as a squid nor an octopus, nor as a vampire, to be honest. It is its own species altogether. It has 8 arms and 2 tentacles, and much to our disappointments, this creature doesn't actually suck blood like a vampire either. Dang it! They are actually quite passive hunters, as they are actually filter feeders, meaning they just eat the floating food particles in the water. Lame. It actually just gets its name from the skin between its arms, which resembles a cape. But it does live in the pitch black waters, so I guess that's cool, and a little vampire-ish. I don't know, man. This one's a little sus, if you ask me. I mean, there has to be another reason why it's called a vampire squid. Maybe it just wants us to think it's supertainment friendly, but I don't know. It's got some proving to do. Coming in at our number 2 spot, we have one that I couldn't help but put on the list because I will admit it's pretty funny and I am very immature. We have the penis snake. It gets its name because, well, the way this snake looks speaks for itself. Just one giant slithering penis. Although, back on a much more mature note here, folks, this snake is actually falsely named because it is actually an amphibian and not a reptile like snakes are. Amphibians usually have moist and slimy skin, where reptiles have scaly and dry skin. However, this snake was discovered discovered in Brazil by Sir Graham Hales in rainforest ecosystems, and it can be most usually found near the river mouth of the Amazon River, where it feeds off bugs and small fish. That's all I got, guys. I'm sorry. Everything else is just making penis jokes, and I don't think I'm allowed to do that for, 3 minutes. So there you go. The penis snake. And finally, coming in at number 1 spot, we have the beast, the myth, the legend, the one and only Big Daddy Bigfoot. That's right, Dewey is still on the Bigfoot train, and while most of the evidence surrounding Bigfoot is still highly up for debate, I can't help it. I believe it's just a species that we haven't fully discovered yet, honestly. I mean, yes, a lot of sightings are hoaxes and just other mistaken animals, but some cases out there are still quite the head scratcher, and I think there is a possibility of there being a land-roaming species we have not been able to fully crack yet. I mean, humans are filled with error and naivete, just as much as we are with perfection and intelligence. So let's all join in the search for Bigfoot. I mean, maybe it's just a large bear, a man in the suit, or a new species, who knows? But there's only one way to find out, and that's to search for the big guy. So if you see this guy for the first time in your life before I do, I want to know about it. There you have it. That has been our top 10 mysterious life forms you might see for the first time in your life. What did you think? What was the most mysterious or impressive creature on this list? Personally, I still love the blue glaucus, and penis snake definitely gets a shout out for the best name. But hey, let me know what you think down in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, I have been your host, Dewey Stewart, and see you later, bees.